Terve, everyone, and welcome to Monday, April 15th, 2024. It's tax day. Happy birthday if you're born on this date. You share a birthday with Leonardo da Vinci, Nikita Khrushchev, Elizabeth Montgomery, Roy Clark, Walt Hazzard, Emma Thompson, Seth Rogen, and Emma Watson. On this day, 112 years ago, the Titanic sank. Now think about that, the Titanic sinking on what would become tax day. Now that's an irony worth thinking about. You may have followed this story over the weekend, but Iran launched hundreds of drones, ballistic missiles, and cruise missiles to bomb Israel. But 99% of those were intercepted and had no effect. This is the first time that Iraq has directly attacked Israel. It's believed to be in retaliation for the bombing of the Iranian consulate in Syria that killed 2 Iranian generals. The entire G7 has condemned the Iranian attack, but everyone is essentially begging Israel to exercise restraint and not retaliate. And of course, that's because everyone is afraid that this could escalate into an even bigger war in the whole region. But there's been no doubt that Iran has been supplying ammunition to Hamas. Oil prices fell today because the attack from Iran didn't cause more widespread damage, and the flow of oil from Iran hasn't been disrupted. A general election is beginning in India this week. It will take 44 days to finish the election in India because of the massive amount of people and the logistics of getting them ballots and then counting them. In India, there must be a voting booth within 1.5 miles of every voter. India has 1.4 billion people, and 970 million are registered to vote. That's more than the population of the entire European Union. Jury selection begins in the Trump Stormy Daniels case today and should take a couple of weeks to complete. As many of you know, the Olympics will be held this year, and everything kicks off starting tomorrow when the Olympic flame is lit in Olympia, Greece, where it all began. The flame will travel through many cities in Europe and will arrive just in time for the games to begin in Paris, France, on July 26th, 3 months from now. The games were held in Paris 100 years ago, and now again in 2024. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has ruled out running as a Libertarian. That was a possibility since he wasn't sure if he could get on the ballot in all 50 states, but now he says that he is confident that that will happen, and so he is going to run as an independent. Americans spent more money this month than last. Retail spending, that is, went up 0.7% more than expected, despite inflation. More people are getting smartphones this quarter than last quarter, up 8%. Samsung is now in the lead, taking over the top spot from Apple. They seesaw back and forth as the number 1 and number 2 makers of smartphones. But smartphone shipments are down from the same time last year. Also, do you know who the number 3 and 4 phone makers are? Number 3 is Xiaomi, and 4 is Transsion. Both of them are gaining ground, increasing by 34% and 85% over last year. A dance group was planning on competing in an event in Washington, Seattle, Washington, but when they got there, they were told they couldn't compete because their uniforms had an American flag theme to them, and they were told there was a small group of people who felt triggered and unsafe because of their uniforms. The group was told they could either change their uniforms or not perform at all. They chose to not perform at all. In sports, the winner of the Masters golf tournament yesterday was Scottie Scheffler, who won by 4 strokes, finishing at 11 under par. This is the second time in 3 years that he's won. And the winner of yesterday's Boston Marathon was, was Ethiopia's Sise Lema, who won with a time of 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 17 seconds. The 10th fastest time ever. In the women's division, Kenya's Helen Obiri repeated as champion. In the wheelchair portion of the race, Marcel Hug of Switzerland won for the 7th time, even after crashing into a barrier. The appeal of the Boston Marathon isn't in the question of who's going to win, but all the people who are there supporting a loved one who is just running against themselves, trying to get a PR, or racing and running in it for the very first time. The NBA playoffs begin tomorrow with the play-in games. 4 teams in each conference will be playing a couple games to see who will be the 7th and 8th seeds and compete against the other 6 seeds. The top 5 movies last week were number 5, Dune 2. 4 was Kung Fu Panda 4. Number 3 was Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. 2 was Godzilla x Kong. And number 1 was Civil War, a newcomer that did better than expected. In religion today, a church service was going on in Sydney, Australia, and worshipers were watching online and in person when a man dressed in black went up to the man preaching the sermon and began stabbing him. Members of the congregation came to his rescue, which injured a few other people. No one died, and the attacker was arrested. No one knows who he is or what the motive was. And today's quote from Sacred Writings, it comes from Mosiah 3:19 in the Book of Mormon. For the natural man is an enemy to God, and has been from the fall of Adam, and will be forever and ever, unless he yields to the enticings of the Holy Spirit, and putteth off the natural man, and becometh a saint through the atonement of Christ the Lord, and becometh as a child, submissive, meek, humble, patient, full of love, willing to submit to all things which the Lord seeth fit to inflict upon him, even as a child doth submit to his father. And we all have seen no soliciting signs at someone's home, right? Well, this one's one that's a little more explicit. It says this: no soliciting. We are too broke to buy anything. We know who we are voting for. We have found Jesus. Seriously, unless you are selling thin mints. I'm Joe Pratt. Make it a great day.